Hi, I'm Ems, aka On Dark and Wings, and this is part 2, the final chapter of me painting my yellow Space Marines. So we're going to be tackling the rest of it. So I hope you find this video useful, and let's get cracking. So first of all, I'm showing you how I create checkered patterns, and you'll want to grab a pen, a fine line pen, or a very sharp pencil. So I'm sketching out a grid to put the checkered pattern on. You could always use a ruler if you wanted to. So I just waited for it to dry out a little bit, and then I went back in with some paint. So I'm going to be doing this in black and white, and you can Google some checkered patterns as well so you have an idea of how they work. Using a pen or a pencil when mapping out freehand before painting it is super useful as well. Also get marker brushes as well, which are really good. I like to use these as well to mark out purity seals quickly. The next tip I wanted to give you is about metallics. So when I'm painting a metallic area, I want to add an acrylic with it too, because it gives a better coverage for our first layer. Whilst on the topic of metallics and painting these guns, I wanted to show you how I approach muzzle burn. I personally like to make sure that the paints are all still wet when I'm painting this, so they sort of blend together more. Obviously you can look at some real life examples and some other miniature painting examples online to get an idea of colours, but these are personally how I like to paint them. I really like using this shiny blue colour instead of just a normal blue. I think it's really good. And to be honest, you could probably do all these in metallic as well if you wanted to. Mix some silver paint with them or get a metallic version of them. You can also do muzzle burn on other things like the exhausts on bikes and such forth. Next up is painting power swords. The first way I'm showing you is wet blending, so make sure the paint is still wet. Then you want to grab a darker colour of your original one. If you don't have one at a push, just mix them black with that mid-tone. So once both paints are wet, they're going to be mapping out where they're going to be, the reflections, so light and dark. After placing all of the darker areas, you want to grab a brush with just water on it and blend the original colour and the darker colour together because they're both still wet. If you're not a big fan of wet blending, you can just do this instead, so get your mid-tone colour, wait for that to dry, then map out your darker colour and wait for that to dry. Then grab the original colour that you used and thin it down to a glaze consistency and then put it over the top of the dark areas to blend it together. Now I'm going to add some highlights, so I'm mixing these two colours together. I don't like just adding white to a colour to highlight it, I find it a little bit too desaturated and chalky. So I'm going around all of the edges and then into the middle. You can follow all these steps I've shown you for the power sword with normal swords as well. You can get much more complicated when it comes to painting power sword and swords. However, I'm going to leave it here today with these steps and then do a more complicated video in the future. I also really like adding some lines on the darker areas to look like lines of reflection. Next, I wanted to show you another way of painting cloth and robes. Instead of doing browns and beiges, we're going to be using a blue. So you want a greyish blue colour. So I've put that down as my base coat, and then I'm mixing some white with that colour. I added a small amount of water, but I want it quite opaque still. I've left the original colour in the recesses to create some definition and shadows. You could add more highlighted layers gradually, adding more white to the Fenris grey, but I'm going to just go straight in with pure white here. I thinned this down a lot more than the last mixture, and then just going over the edges in a few areas to create some highlight. Last up, I just wanted to show you how I approach painting leather. So I start off with a dark brown colour, so I've got this Rhinox hide. So once that's dried, I'm going in with a lighter brown. I really like using Doombull brown, and I'm just picking out the edges and a few areas. After that dries, I'm mixing Doombull brown with Deathclaw brown. If you don't have a Deathclaw brown or a lighter brown colour, you can mix in a beige, or even a flesh tone works great as well. So I've grabbed a smaller brush here, and I'm just going over less areas, copying over the areas I did previously with that Doombull brown, but creating some warm leather effects in the process. So if you found that video helpful or useful or entertaining some way, please like and subscribe. I also have a lot of different things on social media, so I'll put the links in the description below. As always, enjoy your hobbies for yourself, respect the fact that other people enjoy them in their own ways, and at the end of the day, they're just war dollies. I'll see you again.